Hello, everybody, and welcome to my podcast. I am your host, Shannan Mondor. Today's episode is a continuation of my series, You Are Not the Only One. I was brought forth to do this series because during my healing from my addiction to alcohol, there were so many times that the universe had brought me to silence. And it was during those times is when I learned so many things about myself and I was guided. I was guided to talk openly about my past, my abuse, my addiction, and to speak my truth. From those moments of silence is when we learn, we grow, and then we teach and we help others. Today, I have a very special guest. Her name is Jacquie Balogh. Welcome, Jacquie. How are you?
Hi, Shannan. You know what? I'm great. And I'm really excited to be here to talk about silence and to talk about healing and to talk about just growing within ourselves. So I'm super excited to be here today. Thank you, Shannan.
Well, perfect. So let's just get right into it then. So, Jacquie, you've got quite a story that you want to share with us, and I'm so excited to hear it. And so, what is it that brought you to your stillness and your silence?
You know what? There's been several times in my life where I've been brought to stillness, where I've been brought to silence. On this journey that I'm on, particularly right now, that started, a number of years ago when I ended a career in nursing. It wasn't by my choice, but I had to leave nursing. And I kind of floated around for a while and I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. I wanted to help people, but I didn't know how, and I didn't know how that was going to really just wanted to help people as much as possible. So eventually I found a career in coaching. I became a certified coach in many modalities, but it wasn't enough. And then all of a sudden hypnosis came along, and that was literally sitting at a booth, having lunch with my kids, and a flyer fell in my lap for an advertisement for hypnosis. So as I was sitting there, still pondering, wondering, along came hypnosis. So I went and I learned how to do that. Through the years, I have worked with hypnosis. I really wanted to go deeply into hypnosis and work with clients at a very deep level, and wasn't sure how to get there. And then in 2018, I had a very life-changing experience of my own. It was very scary. It was very hard. And hypnosis brought me through it. So I developed a seizure disorder out of nowhere. Never had anything like that in my family, never experienced anything like that myself. And the seizures are psychological in nature. So I wasn't diagnosed with epilepsy. These are psychological seizures. And what they do is bring me to stillness. They make me stop, and they make me go inside of myself and recognize and realize what needs healing, what's going on. And they still do that from time to time. But it really just brought me to silence. I had no choice but to be locked inside of myself while the seizure activity was going on. And to really figure out what was attached to it, what were the things that I wasn't willing to look at in my own life, what needed healing, what needed nourishing. And so I went to every doctor known to man. I did every test known to man. I was a human pincushion for almost a year. Finally got this diagnosis. And in that time frame, I also worked with colleagues who were very supportive with hypnosis. So I went from having about 30 seizures a day down to now I have basically seizures that are attached to the Chinook weather here in Calgary. So when the warm comes over the mountain, my head goes a little spacey. If I can catch it at times, then okay. But for the most part now, I've dealt with a lot of the traumas of the past. I've let go of a lot of the things that I thought were gone. I thought I dealt with that. It's over with. Of course, everything always finds its way back in different ways when we're living. So when we have time to get really quiet and silent and really get within ourselves, we make that space to create the conditions for healing and release. And if we don't make that space, at some point, our bodies and our minds and the spirit of us is going to actually stop us in our tracks one way or another, so that we do that.
I've got a couple questions for you. So I can't even imagine you wouldn't have been able to lead a normal life at all during that time of seizures when you were having up to 30 a day. So how did you actually function on a daily basis? Because of course the anxiety of perhaps another seizure happening.
Yeah, it was scary because when they first started happening, of course, we had no idea. We had no idea what kind of seizures were going on. We had no idea why. We had no idea how to deal with them. My partner, he had no clue. He has no first aid training whatsoever. It's terrifying for him. As a nurse, I was trying to do research and figure out what was going on, and research all the symptoms and research all of the things that I could do to prevent them. But initially, life kind of just stopped. Everything slowed down, everything stopped. Um, Luckily, I have a very supportive family, so my children came to visit in different increments. My mother actually spent some time here with me, really helping me to just get through the day stuff, helping with the housekeeping and the groceries, because of course I wasn't able to drive at that time as well. So it really brought me to a point where I had no choice but to focus on myself and really focus on relationships that were super important to me, and rebuild all of that, rebuild a whole entire life around bringing these things in and making them part of my life, because I wasn't going to let them identify me.
Right, exactly. And how long of a time frame was that you went through basically the hardest part, being in your stillness? Because it sounds to me like it was quite some time.
The hardest part was probably the first year. So
Wow.
the first few months, it was seizures all the time. We were all over the place. We didn't know what the truth. We were just trying to figure out what we could do to prevent from happening. And of course, they kept happening and happening and happening. After about 2 or 3 months, I connected with a very good friend and colleague of mine. She's a mentor of mine, and we began to do the deep work. She said, "This works. This works. You're a hypnotist. Nothing else is working. Medication and all these trips to the doctor are not working. Let's go in and figure out what the problem is." And once I started doing that and really focusing on myself, there was a lot of regression in this life as well as other lifetimes to figure out what was going on, why these things were coming up now, why these old traumas were raising their ugly head. And it gave me an opportunity to really put things into perspective, and also to make the choice to release those things. And the more I released and the more work that I did, the better I felt. So after about that first year, I was still having seizures, obviously, but by the end of that first year, we kind of really had a handle on some of the triggers and what was causing it. And we were able to very quickly develop a plan whenever I was kind of going into a seizure. My partner, he knew. He's like, "You need to go lay down. You need to go get some, your medication, and you need to get into a safe spot because you're going to seize." So yeah, it took a while. It took about a year of just real silence, real stillness, just remembering who I was and actually putting myself first and foremost in my life, which is something that we never do.
Exactly, exactly. And so with your journey regarding the hypnosis and healing there, did you find that a lot of it was from your past lives? The reason I'm asking that is because I know personally with me, there's one blockage I've got, and it's a trigger from my childhood. And I keep on going back to it, and I talk to my inner child, and I do my meditations, and I do all of that. But there's this blockage, and I do not know how to let it go. And I truly believe with me, it is definitely something of my past lives. There's no question.
Yeah, you know what? I work with past life regression. I work with interlife regression. So I believe that we have had past lives. And I believe that we do bring karmas with us. We have memories and things that we bring with us. And funnily enough, the night that the seizures started, I was having a dream where I was upside down in a car underwater, and I couldn't get out of the car. And of course, I was scared. I didn't want to open the window because the car would flood, and I didn't know how to get out of the car. And one of the very first regressions that I went to was another lifetime where I was upside down in a car and I couldn't get out. And I actually had to work my way through the coldness of the water as it came around me, swimming out the window, going up as opposed to, sideways. I had to work my way through that entire thing before I could release it. So funny enough, when I started having seizures, it was a past life that actually knocked it into gear. When it comes to the inner child, though, the inner child travels with us with the soul, obviously. And so if there's splinters that are left behind and the child is not healed and whole in this lifetime, then there's always those things. And the thing with the trigger, Shannan, is that we always go back to it. So all of our triggers and all of our responses and reactions and actions are actually, if you think about it, they're all very childish responses. And it's because we go back to that point in time when we were 3 years old and this happened. And as a result of this happening, I reacted or acted this way. And as we get older, we continue to go back to that initial reaction, which is childish. And sometimes there's a blockage because we feel like we're protecting ourselves and we feel like we're protecting the child, and the child is protecting us. So the inner child is confused because it feels like it needs to protect us. We're the adult. We're the adult. We are supposed to look after the child. So there's some meditation there that needs to go on where you're talking to the inner child and saying, listen, I'm the adult here. I'm here to take care of this. We can let go of this. There's no need to protect this any longer. I'm a big girl now, and I'm going to show you how we can very easily manage this without going back to that childish response all the time.
Yeah, I totally resonate with what you're saying, like 100%. Wow. So, after your journey with that, then you created your own business.
Yes.
That is correct. Yes.
I
So
did.
let's talk about that. Like that. That's just wonderful.
So prior to actually having the seizure disorder beginning, I have a practice. It's transcendence hypnosis. That's the name of my one-on-one practice.
Okay.
So I work with clients who are ready to kind of move stuff out of the way and really step into loving themselves. So living a life they love, loving themselves, living their true nature and purpose. And my specialty has always been working with difficult clients that have really deep-seated mental health things. So I work with deep depression. I work with grief. I work with anxiety. I work with people who are bipolar. I work with people who are medically treated and followed for schizophrenia to help them with unwinding some of that stuff, reality and what's real and what's not. And I'm one of the few people that actually work with those really deep-seated mental health concerns in the world because it's contraindicated in a lot of ways. But I have this way of connecting with people and connecting with what's inside of them beyond what the disease is telling or the diagnosis is telling us in the world, and really seeing the human that's in there. And let's unravel that. Let's sort that out so that we can make it better. So yes, I have been working in practice. I went all online about 5 years ago. So pre-COVID, I was already working online. I have a very busy one-on-one practice worldwide. I work with people all over the world. And generally speaking, a lot of those things are mental health related, which in this day and age, everything is mental health related. So if you come to me for grief, if you come to me for anxiety, if you come to me because you're not feeling good about yourself, you need more confidence, you don't see your worth, or those sorts of things, all of that is mental health related. And so when I say that I work with mental health, what I mean is that I work with everything and anything is possible. I have the client needs to buy into their own healing and take ownership and responsibility for that healing and those shifts that are about to happen for them, because they're not going to be the same person they were when they went into the session. Just like I'm not the same person I was prior to doing all of the work myself and on myself and with colleagues. I'm not that person anymore. I'm still Jacquie. And I presently struggle with sometimes these symptoms of seizure disorder, but it's never identified me. I've never actually given it identity where I say my seizures or I struggle with the symptoms of, but I've never, ever stepped into an identity of anything.
See, and that was a big thing with me when it came to me being addicted to alcohol. I went to AA a couple times, and that was not for me, because they want you to identify as, I am Shannan Mondor, I am an alcoholic. And that
Yes.
did not resonate well with me at all. I'm not carrying that forward for the rest of my life, because there's too much shame, anxiety, lack of self-worth, everything affiliated with that word alcoholic. So it's like, no, I will not identify as that. I am someone strong, confident, I'm healthy, I'm looking to the future. So I resonate with you absolutely on that also. Wow. This is so interesting.
The
So
paradigms in the world, Shannan, for addiction, though, are basically, it's not designed to shame you, but it does.
yes.
So, hi, my name is Shannan, I'm an alcoholic. Hi, my name is Joe, I'm an addicted to meth, I'm blah, 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 whatever you want to use.
Mm-hmm.
Anytime we have an addiction and we identify with it, it's very, very hard to let go. When we own something, we don't often want to get rid of it, and we certainly don't want to lose it, because when we lose something, we want to find it.
Mm-hmm.
So the wording and the paradigms in the world of addiction, and I work with addictions as well, is that I am.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I presently struggle with the symptoms of alcoholism. Not I'm an alcoholic. I presently struggle with
Yes.
the symptom of, or I'm actively using alcohol at this time. There needs to be a paradigm shift with the way that we word things, so that it allows people to forgive themselves for all of the angst that they carry in those two words, I am.
Yes, exactly. Yeah,
Mhm.
exactly. Because there's so much power in those words, I am.
Oh, totally, totally.
A lot of people don't understand that. And I am is God, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, and that's huge. That's huge. So through your whole journey, looking back, what is it that you learned about yourself through all of that?
I learned a lot. We always do. Whenever we
Yeah.
go through a journey, we learn a lot. What I learned is that I am very strong within myself, and I'm very resourceful. So I used to think that there was times when I was really struggling with the seizure disorder, and I would be in despair, and I would think, God, why did this happen to me? Why? Like, what's going on here? I don't deserve this. I didn't do anything to deserve this. But in the quiet and in the stillness, I would hear the answer to that question. Well, it's time to level up. It's time to grow. And in order to grow, you have to cut some of those chains off that are holding you stuck. You need to do some forgiveness work. You need to go back and revisit those things in a way that is respectful for you, so that not so that you can just kind of mire in it and feel guilty and awful about the things that happen, but you can see where you've grown from there and take those strengths and those abilities with you, that resourcefulness, those sources that we already have inherently within us. So that was a big learning for me. The other learning was really understanding where my clients are at when they come to see me. So the things that they say, the words that they use, oh, you've probably heard this before. And yes, I have, but I also understand where it's coming from now. Self-sabotaging behaviors, how really identified people are with self-sabotage without even really knowing that. How disconnected we are from the deepest part of ourselves, which is called the self, which is kind of that connection between our humanness and the soul. So when the soul incarnates, we get all these gifts and stuff given to us, and that's the self. That's who we are. But there's somehow in our humanness, we get all mired down, and everything gets disconnected and discombobulated, and we start to feel bad about ourselves. And so what I really learned was that people need to be reconnected. They're very resourceful. Humans are resourceful. We have everything inside of us that we need to heal, and that we need to be reconnected to that self, that greatness that's inside of us, because that connects us to our power, and our power creates our voice. And when we're healing from something, we need to be able to use our voice in order to tell people, to tell others, and to share our story about this is right and this is not right for me. What's aligning with me right now is this. I'm not able to have these conversations with you right now because of this. It really empowers us to be the person, to be the human that our soul wanted us to be in the first place, to live out its journey. So there was a deep learning about that for my clients. So really understanding them and being able to actively listen and hear what's not being said.
What I find so amazing is people are really, really coming into who they are now. And I see it more and more on a daily basis.
Totally.
And it's just like everywhere you look, and just it would be the same with you. People are attracted to me, for that reason. People are attracted to you. There's something in them that I see and that I can relate to, and the same back and forth, right? And so it's amazing, and more people are talking about their feelings, their emotions, and that they're stuck or that they need help. And it's just the most wonderful thing, and it's a totally way of looking at the world altogether now. Like it's amazing.
Yeah.
It
Well, and
really-
just imagine the tapestry of stories that you can hear. I mean, when I go into a shopping mall and I sit down on a bench, it's not 2 minutes and I have somebody sit down next to me, and within another minute, they're telling me their life story. I have this whole tapestry of stories from people who are addicted to drugs, people who are lonely, people who are elderly, people who are, transitioning from one disease into another, or people who are going for all sorts of treatments. I have had children come and tell me their life story. It's just amazing to me, the tapestry. Like, if you can imagine everybody in the world as having a piece on a quilt, the tapestry that I've actually had the privilege of listening to and being involved in and offering input in, it's just been amazing. And that's what happens when I work with clients too, that the tapestry just gets greater and greater. And because I'm tuned in, because I'm able to hear them, and because I'm hearing the things that aren't being said, I'm able to ask those tough questions.
Right.
Really go inside yourself. Where do you feel that? Where is it in your body? Tell me what that feeling is. Tell me what that emotion is. And they don't even really realize it, because in this world that we live in, people don't listen to each other to listen. They listen to respond.
Well, and they don't listen to their bodies, and more people are starting to understand that
Yeah.
your body is, it tells you everything,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
people are really becoming in tune to that. So what is it that you want others to know through this whole journey that you've been? What is, a couple of the most important things that you want others to know?
I want people to understand that they're not broken and they don't need fixing.
Right.
There's a disconnection somewhere in there, and all it really needs is just a nudge in the right direction. We all have the ability to live a life that we love right now. All those goals that we have. So a year from now, 2 years from now, 5 years from now, if this happens, then that happens. If that happens, then this happens. If I get a sign from God, this is going to happen. All those things that we think and we put up on this pedestal up over here, we can have that right now. And there's no reason why we can't.
Mhm.
We're resourceful.
Mhm.
We are smart. We have the ability to solve our own problems, to heal our own ailments. We have the ability to close our eyes, go within ourselves, and answer the questions that we're asking of the world.
Right.
We have this sort of God essence in us. And a lot of people get down on their knees and they pray to God. What's the answer? What do I do? Where do I go? But they won't stop and listen for the answer.
Right.
So what if I can take anything away from today is, when you have a question or when you have something that's really prying at you and you're looking outside of yourself for the answer, you're not going to find it. What you need to do is to get quiet with yourself. Ask the question and then spend the time waiting for the answer. It may not come to you in a dialogue. It may not come to you in words, but it will come to you. And we are resourceful enough to understand those things and put them into play without even really paying attention to it, if we allow the process to happen.
Mhm.
Humans need to slow down. We need to slow down and really start paying attention to ourselves. Yes, there's this whole movement going on where people are waking up and they're really paying attention to themselves and their bodies and their lives and how they feel. But there's still so much speed going on. It's like, well, I have to do this and I have to do this and I have to do this. And we always feel like we'd miss out on something if we're not in a hurry, if we don't take this class and that class and the next class. But the thing of it is, if we just stop and listen, what's important, what needs to happen now, what needs nourishing within us, what needs healing within us, and go from there. Because once we start to really nourish ourselves from the inside and heal those things, life around us on the outside becomes so much better. People disappear, more people show up, opportunities show up, different situations that are no longer serving us just seem to kind of, fade off into the background. So it's very easy to start living a life that we love, really living our true nature and purpose, and really being healthy for that life when we allow ourselves to just let it happen from deep inside. And that's one thing that I want to give a takeaway to everybody is spend some time. You don't have to meditate. You don't have to, get your yoga mat out and sit just so and breathe just so. Just close your eyes and listen. What is the question that you need answered? What is the question? And really listen for the answer. And when that answer comes and you've enacted that, the next question will come. You'll know what to ask as you move through it. It's to start doing it. That's the trick. With me, it was, what do I need to do to heal this? What do I need to do to get back to my life, to be who I am? And the answer was, you're never going to be who you were. You're going to be somebody different.
Mhm.
And I was like, well, this is great. I kind of liked who I was, but I kind of love who I am now. And, all of the things that I've learned and all of the silence that I've had to sit in and really listen for the answers, and how I can now work with clients. And while they're sitting in silence, I'm hearing questions that I need to ask them. What do you want? Why do you want that? Why is it important? How are you going to incorporate that? Let's embody that.
Yeah.
Let's get you living that life right now. So those are the takeaways that I can offer from the work that I've done and from my own experiences.
Right. The biggest thing that I learned on my journey so far is that there's no such thing as mistakes. They're all experiences.
No.
And
Yes.
from each of those experiences, I've learned so much. I've learned what I like and what I don't like, and it's pointed me even more into the direction that I'm meant to go. So
True.
there are no mistakes. It's all experiences, and that's one thing I try and teach my children now too. You know,
Yeah.
and it just makes it so much easier for them to want to go forward too, right? And just kind of let things roll off, right? State.
Well, we all want to be in control. Control is, a big
Mhm.
thing in our world. We all want to feel like we're in control of our lives.
Mhm.
When in essence, the only true control we really have is choice. So there are no mistakes, because if we make a choice and it doesn't work out, it allows us to make another choice in order to move us in the direction we need to be going.
And
So
that, yeah, and
for
that's what too many
people
of us.
who there's so many people, it's just like, I need to be in control. I need to be in control. I'm in control, but they've got so many balls in the air, they can't juggle anymore. And they're not in control of any of them, because if they look over here, all those balls fall.
Right.
But if they make a choice, I'm going to do this first, and that doesn't work out. Well, all right, now I'm going to make another choice based on the consequence of that action. So there isn't really any mistakes per se at all. There
Mhm.
is choice, try, consequence, try again, keep moving, whichever it is, right? So
And that's
choice
where
is so much more peaceful than control.
and that's where so many people get so confused of other people's opinions or what's happening on the outside world.
Yeah,
And if you just read that, you're going to be guided in the right place.
absolutely.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Oh, jeepers, this is so good. So, is there, so where are you right now in your life?
Right now, I am, I'm still working with one-on-one practice. And I've actually launched this year a program for teaching other hypnotists and those who are interested in becoming hypnotists how to have a practice, how to have personal development so that they can self-regulate and of course the business tools so that they're able to get started right away working in whatever area they like, whatever specialty they like. And that was created because over all of the training that I've done, there's always this component, but these two are missing, or these two components and this one's missing. So I took all of the training that I've done and I curated information that I felt for myself, and this would have been me, this would have been my ideal program. Here's all the hypnosis stuff I need to know. Here's some done for you programs. Here's all of the extras. And now here's some self-development, because people have issues with money. People have issues with image. People have issues with self-sabotage. People don't know who you're talking to. If you don't know who you're talking to, you don't have a practice. You just don't. You're on a wish and a prayer. And then there's the business stuff. How do I get started? Do I need a website? Do I need this? Do I need that? Do I need all these things that are constantly coming at us in social media all the time? And I'm like, no, here's what you need to do to get started. Let's do this. That stuff can come later. And then there's other stuff that's nice to have, and you can have it if you want it later. Right now, if you want to get started in business, here's what you're going to do. And you're going to get started and then build from there. So I've been really kind of working on that. So one-on-one practice, really working with students, mentoring. And I've been working with students for years. Prior to working with my own stuff, I taught another program that I worked and mentored with students, hypnosis students. And yeah, just really busy. And then on my own time, I'm learning Spanish. So I'm using hypnosis to kind of knock the Spanish in there so that I can remember it.
That is so wonderful.
Yeah, it's great for everything. So when I started learning it, I thought, okay, I'm going to do hypnosis after every session, and just, okay, super conscious, let's just make sure that it's all there, make sure that I remember it. And it really is helpful. It really has integrated it well. So that's what I do in my spare time. I also, my husband and I like to go out on the motorbike. We've got lots of kids, lots of grandkids, and, I'm in a great place in my life. I still have seizure activity from time to time, but like I say, it's not even part of who I am. It's just something that happens once in a while, throws a curveball, and then we just carry on, and that's it. So, yeah, I'm in a great place in life right now.
Oh, that's wonderful. So is there any final words that you would like to let people know? Any final thoughts?
You know what, if you have a problem or you have an issue going on, and you've been looking around outside of yourself, medications, therapists, all kinds of things. If you have a problem, you are your best solution. A lot of people don't understand what hypnosis is, and I am more than happy to explain that in great detail. And I'm also very quickly able to explain to you how you can solve your own problem yourself. So if you are stuck here and you want to be over here, I can show you a very easy, very quick, very permanent way of getting you here and keeping you here. So I don't, I work with physicians, I work with psychiatry, all that kind of thing. But when it comes to a subconscious problem, you can't talk yourself out of that. You can't take a pill that's going to make that better. When you have a problem and it's deep-seated, like PTSD, or, you've got severe depression, you've got anxiety that's crippling, those sorts of things, I can very quickly teach you and give tools that will help you and support you to move from where you are now to where you want to be. So quickly, in fact, that you'll look back and think, I don't even know who that person was anymore. So if you have a problem, you're your best solution. Don't ever feel like you're alone in the world. Reach out for help. And I don't care who that is, whether it's a phone call to a crisis line, whether it's a phone call to a friend or family member, whether it's a phone call to me or an email to me saying, Jacquie, I need help. I have dealt with, with clients who are on the verge of suicide, and they're no longer there. So that's awesome. But reach out, find out, do the research, get a hold of me if you need to. And I'm happy to share with you all of the amazing benefits of hypnosis, and the scientific properties behind the healing properties of it, the benefits of it, the release. And I can even tell you my story.
Perfect. So I just want the audience to know that in the notes section of this podcast, when you click on it and you scroll down, that is where Jacquie's information will be. Everything is there. Her website, her phone number, everything to get a hold of her. Well, you know what, Jacquie, I have absolutely enjoyed this time with you, and I thank you for being on this podcast. I know that you will continue to help so many other people out there, and now with this information, you're going to help even more. So I thank you with the bottom of my heart for being a part of my journey. So thank you very much, Jacquie.
Thank you, Shannan. It's been wonderful chatting with you and just really getting my story out there, talking about, the importance of silence, the importance of stillness, and the things that we can learn from it. So thank you for having this show. People can learn about that. Super important.
It is, isn't it?